My name is Avery Morgan. I was 26 years old when I died the first time. Not literally, of course, but something inside me shattered beyond recognition. The day Ethan Walker walked out of our apartment, with nothing but a duffel bag and the fragments of my heart. He didn't even know he was taking with him. The funny thing about emotional devastation is how it makes you hyper-aware of the mundane. I remember the ceiling fan spinning lazily above our bed, the forgotten coffee mug on the nightstand with the lipstick stain I'd left behind, the way the afternoon light filtered through the curtains he'd insisted on buying. They match your eyes, Avery. All these details etched into my memory like scars that never quite heal right. Boston in October feels like a painting that can't decide what it wants to be. The leaves were turning that day, vibrant reds and golds clinging to branches, refusing to let go. Much like I was doing with him. I just can't do this anymore, he'd said. 5 words. 5 simple words that demolished 5 years together. I didn't cry, not then. I stood in my kitchen barefoot on the cold tile floor watching him pack his life into bags like he was simply going on a weekend trip. Like he might come back on Monday with stories to tell and that crooked smile that always made my knees weak. But Ethan wasn't coming back, and I wasn't the same Avery he was leaving behind. They say trauma changes you, rewires your brain, makes you see the world differently. They don't tell you that healing does the exact same thing. That was 3 years ago. 3 years of learning how to be whole again. 3 years of discovering pieces of myself that I'd never known existed because I'd been too busy being what he needed me to be. 3 years of becoming someone new. Until today, when Ethan Walker walked back into my life as unexpectedly as he'd left it, standing in the doorway of my bookstore with rain-dampened hair and those hazel eyes that still knew exactly how to find me. Avery, he said. Just my name, nothing more, but somehow it contained everything. This is the story of what happens when the person who broke you comes back to see what you've built from the pieces they left behind. I own a small bookstore in Cambridge now. Footnote: it's nothing fancy, just a narrow storefront with creaky wooden floors and floor-to-ceiling shelves that smell like possibility and old paper. But it's mine, every square inch of it, from the mismatched reading chairs to the tiny coffee bar in the back where I serve drinks with literary-inspired names. What can I get you? I asked Ethan, my voice steadier than the trembling hands I'd hidden beneath the counter. Professional, distant, like he was just another customer who'd wandered in out of the rain. You look good, Ev, he said instead of ordering, his eyes taking in the changes. My hair shorter now, the confidence in my posture that hadn't been there before. Really good. The Hemingway is popular, I replied, ignoring his comment. Black coffee with a shot of whiskey. I'd started serving it after my grandmother died last year, her favorite writer, her favorite drink. Always did hate Hemingway, Ethan said with that half smile I used to trace with my fingertips in the dark. Too much machismo, not enough heart. People change, I said. The words hung between us like a challenge. He nodded slowly. Some things don't, though. He wasn't talking about Hemingway anymore. I made him a Fitzgerald instead, coffee with honey and cream, served in one of the vintage teacups I'd collected from thrift stores around Massachusetts. His fingers brushed mine as I handed it to him, and I felt that familiar electric current that had once been as necessary as oxygen. Why are you here, Ethan? I finally asked. The rain outside had intensified, drumming against the windows like it was trying to break in. Or maybe trying to warn me. I saw your mom at the hospital, he said. I'm working there now, finished my residency last year. Right. Dr. Walker. The dream he'd been chasing when we were together. The one that had always seemed more important than us. She mentioned her hip replacement, he continued. And your bookstore said you were doing really well. He looked down at his coffee, seemed proud. She is, I said. We both are. The unspoken without you lingered in the air. Customer came in, then, shaking raindrops from an umbrella. Mrs. Abernathy, 83, and sharp as a tack, looking for her monthly mystery novel. I excused myself, grateful for the interruption, the chance to put distance between us. When I returned, Ethan was examining the small framed photo on the wall behind the counter. Me at the store opening, ribbon-cutting ceremony, my smile wide and genuine. My business partner and best friend, Lisa, beside me with her arm around my waist. The caption underneath, "Second chances come in unexpected places." You always wanted this, he said quietly. Even back then. No, I corrected him. Back then I wanted you. This came after. After I'd rebuilt myself from the rubble. After I'd learned that dreams deferred don't have to stay that way. I made a mistake, Avery. His voice cracked slightly on my name. The biggest one of my life. I'd imagined this moment 1,000 times. In the early days, I'd fantasized about it, rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd make him feel the pain he'd caused me. Later, I'd convinced myself it didn't matter, that I was beyond caring. But standing there, watching rain streak down the windows of the life I'd built without him, I realized neither scenario fit what I was feeling. Why now? I asked. It's been 3 years, Ethan. He set down his cup with deliberate care. Because I finally got everything I thought I wanted, and it turned out to be nothing without. He stopped, swallowed. Nothing without the right person to share it with. And you think that person is still me? The question came out sharper than I intended, a blade forged in the fire of abandoned plans and lonely nights. I think, he said carefully, that I'd like the chance to get to know who you are now. The Avery who built this place, who framed second chances on her wall. His eyes met mine, unflinching. The woman your mother can't stop bragging about to random doctors in hospital hallways. Outside, thunder rumbled, a warning or encouragement. I couldn't tell which. The few customers in the store glanced up momentarily before returning to their browsing. Life continuing around us while time seemed suspended in our little bubble of past and present colliding. I have plans tonight, I said finally. It wasn't a lie. Lisa and I had tickets to a reading at Harvard, local poet, wine reception afterward. The kind of evening I'd built my new life around. Tomorrow then, Ethan pressed. Coffee or dinner? He hesitated, then added, or I could come here, buy a book, support local business. That almost made me smile. Almost. Why should I? The question wasn't accusatory, just honest. Give me one reason that isn't about what you need or what you want or what you lost. He was quiet for so long I thought he might not answer. Outside the storm was passing, sunlight beginning to break through in golden shafts. Typical New England, multiple seasons in a single afternoon. Because, he finally said, I saw what you kept. My breath caught. What? In the photo, behind you, on the highest shelf. He nodded toward the picture frame. The blue ceramic bird. The one I made in that pottery class we took for your birthday. His voice softened. You kept it. The lopsided little bird with one wing slightly larger than the other. His frustrated attempt at art that I'd treasured because his hands had shaped it. Because he'd tried something he wasn't good at, just to make me happy. I hadn't even realized it was visible in the photo. That doesn't mean anything, I said. But we both knew it did. Have dinner with me, he said again. Not to pick up where we left off. Not to pretend the past didn't happen. He leaned forward slightly. But because I'd like to know who Avery Morgan became when I was stupid enough to walk away. I should have said no. The Avery who had built this store, who had learned to sleep alone in the center of the bed, who had channeled heartbreak into ambition, she would have said no. But perhaps the pieces of me he'd kept, the ones that still recognized something vital in him, weren't ready to let go either. Tuesday, I said. I close early on Tuesdays. A smile that spread across his face was like watching the sun come out after a long winter, familiar and forgotten all at once. Warming places I'd convinced myself had gone cold. Tuesday, he echoed, like a promise. I called Lisa that night after the reading. We were walking back to her car. The Cambridge streets quiet except for distant student laughter and the click of her heels on pavement. He came back, was all I said. I didn't need to specify who. Lisa stopped walking. Shit. She turned to face me, her expression caught between concern and curiosity. What did he want? A second chance, I think, I said. The night air felt suddenly insufficient, like my lungs couldn't quite get enough. I agreed to dinner. Tuesday, she repeated, as in 3 days from now, Tuesday. When I nodded, she linked her arm through mine and continued walking. Well, that gives us just enough time to prepare. Prepare for what? I asked, though I already knew the answer. For you to show him exactly what he walked away from, she said with the fierce loyalty of someone who'd seen me at my worst, who'd helped pick up the pieces, and exactly what he doesn't deserve to just waltz back into. I squeezed her arm gratefully, but part of me wondered if it was that simple. If anything involving Ethan Walker had ever been simple. That night I dreamed of him, not the Ethan who'd left, but the one who'd arrived in my store with rain in his hair and regret in his eyes. In the dream, he kept trying to give me something, but I couldn't see what it was. My hands remained stubbornly at my sides, unwilling to receive whatever he offered. I woke feeling unsettled, the phantom weight of choices unmade pressing on my chest. Tuesday arrived with frustrating inevitability. I closed the store at 5, flipping the sign and counting the register with mechanical precision. Upstairs in my small apartment above the bookstore, I changed 3 times before settling on a simple green dress I'd bought in celebration after signing the lease. A victory dress, not something chosen with Ethan in mind. He arrived exactly on time, 7 p.m., not a minute early or late. The punctuality of a man who'd spent years calibrating his life around hospital shifts and patient needs. You look beautiful, he said when I opened the door. No flowers, no gifts, just honesty that made my cheeks warm despite my best intentions. He'd made reservations at a small Italian place in the North End. Not too fancy, but nice enough to show effort. The kind of restaurant where the owners know regular customers by name and the wine list is longer than the menu. You remembered, I said as we were seated. Italian had always been my favorite. I remember everything, Av, he replied simply, the nickname falling from his lips like no time had passed at all. Like he still had the right, the familiarity. We ordered gnocchi for me, lasagna for him, some habits unchanged by time and distance. The waiter brought bread and olive oil, and for a moment we just sat there, the awkwardness of our situation settling around us like dust. Tell me about the bookstore, he finally said. How did that happen? So I told him about the inheritance from my grandmother that had been just enough for a down payment, about meeting Lisa at a grief support group, her for her brother, me for the relationship that had defined my adult life, about finding the storefront with its perfect bay windows and location near enough to campus to attract students, but far enough to avoid being just another college hangout. "You did it," he said when I finished. "Everything you used to talk about late at night when you thought I wasn't really listening." His smile was sad around the edges. "I was, you know. Always." "Not always," I countered. "Not when it mattered most." He flinched slightly but didn't argue. "Fair enough." I've Our food arrived, steam rising from the plates, like the ghosts of conversations we weren't yet having. I twirled pasta around my fork, buying time before the questions I both wanted and dreaded to ask. "And you?" I finally managed. "You finished your residency." He nodded. "Pediatric surgery. Got hired at Boston Children's 6 months ago." His eyes lit up the way they always had when talking about medicine. "It's challenging but rewarding. The kids are incredible, braver than most adults I know." "Including yourself?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. He set down his fork carefully. "Especially myself." We ate in silence for a few minutes, the restaurant filling around us with other couples, other stories I couldn't help but wonder about. Were they beginning, ending, somewhere in the complicated middle? "I dated someone," he said suddenly, "for about a year. Another doctor." His honesty startled me. "It ended badly." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, though part of me already knew. "Because I don't want secrets between us," he replied. "Not again. Not ever." He leaned forward slightly. "And because she helped me understand what I did to you, what it feels like when someone puts their ambition ahead of your heart." I took a sip of wine to hide whatever my face might be revealing. "And what about you?" he asked. "Has there been anyone?" I considered lying, inventing some serious relationship to show him I'd moved on completely. But the truth had its own power. "Yes," I said, "a few someones. Nothing that lasted." I met his gaze directly. "Nothing that felt worth risking everything for again." Understanding passed between us, heavy with shared history and separate pain. The waiter cleared our plates, offered dessert. We both declined. Outside, the night had turned cool, stars visible even through the city lights. Ethan offered his jacket without comment, and I accepted it with the same silence. We walked without direction, retracing steps through a city that had witnessed both our beginning and our end. "I want to show you something," he said eventually. We were near the public garden, the trees casting long shadows across manicured lawns. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet, extracted something from behind his driver's license. A photograph, worn around the edges, creased down the middle where it had been folded and unfolded countless times. Us, outside my parents' house at Christmas, snow falling around our shoulders, my head thrown back in laughter at something he'd said. "You kept this," I whispered, "the evidence of his own keeping." "I kept a lot of things, Avery," he said, his voice rough. "Some you can see, like this. Others you can't. Memories, regrets, the way you smell like vanilla, and old books." He tucked the photo away carefully. "The pieces of you I couldn't leave behind even when I tried." We stopped walking, facing each other in the pool of a street lamp's glow, his face in half shadow, familiar angles made strange by time and circumstance. I remembered how it felt to trace those features with my fingertips, to know them better than my own. "What do you want from me, Ethan?" I asked, the question that had been humming beneath every word since he'd walked into my store. "Really?" He didn't hesitate. "A second chance. Not to go backward. We can't do that, and I wouldn't want to." He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth of him in the cool night air. But to go forward, together, if you'll let me try. And if I say no? My voice was barely audible. Then I'll respect that, he said. But I'll also know that I tried, that this time I was brave enough to fight for what matters. I thought about the bookstore, about the life I'd built from the wreckage he'd left behind, about the person I'd become because I'd had to. Would letting him back in undo all that hard-won growth, or would pushing him away be another kind of fear, the fear of risking my heart again? I need time, I said finally. This isn't, I gestured between us. We can't just pick up where we left off. I know, he said quickly. I'm not asking for that. He hesitated, then reached for my hand. I let him take it, his fingers lacing through mine with familiar certainty. I'm asking for the chance to know you again, to earn back your trust, one day at a time. His palm was warm against mine, the contact sending echoes of memory through my body. All the times we'd walked like this through Boston streets, all the promises kept and broken between us. One day at a time, I repeated. Not a yes, not quite a no. Something in between, a door left slightly ajar. He smiled then, relief softening the tension in his shoulders. That's all I'm asking for. We walked back toward my bookstore in comfortable silence, our hands still connected. The city hummed around us, cars passing. Distant music, the collective breath of millions of people living their own complicated stories, none exactly like ours. At my door, he released my hand reluctantly. Thank you for tonight, he said, for listening, for giving me a chance to explain, even if it doesn't change anything. It changes some things, I admitted, not everything, but some. He nodded, understanding the distinction. Can I call you? Maybe come by the store again. I considered this, weighing caution against the undeniable pull I still felt toward him. Yes, I said finally, but slowly, Ethan. I mean it. Slowly, he agreed. He leaned forward then, his lips brushing against my cheek in the gentlest of kisses. Good night, Avery Morgan. I watched him walk away, not rushing, not looking back, confident, perhaps, that this time he wasn't leaving for good. Upstairs, I stood at my window for a long time, looking out at the city that had witnessed both our separation and this tentative reconnection. The blue ceramic bird sat on my windowsill, its misshapen wings catching moonlight, a reminder of imperfection, of effort, of the things worth keeping. I didn't know what would happen next with Ethan Walker, whether this new beginning would lead to another ending, or something entirely different, but as I finally turned away from the window, I realized that regardless of what came next, I was no longer afraid of it, because the pieces of me he'd kept, the ones he'd carried with him through time and distance and regret, weren't the most important parts. Those I had kept for myself, built myself around, made stronger in their brokenness, and that, more than anything, was worth discovering where this road might lead. If Avery and Ethan's journey touched your heart, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Has someone from your past ever returned, asking for a second chance? What pieces of them did you keep? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional stories that explore love, healing, and second chances. Your support helps this channel continue creating the stories that connect us all.